Alright, so in this video we are going to be translating and discussing the lines of the Aeneid, Book 2, lines 228 through 249. So, let's go ahead and get started. Then truly, a new fear intertwines through the trembling hearts for everybody, for all. And remember that Pharaoh, fairy, tilly, lotus in poetry, and especially Virgil, can often have not the meaning of bring or carry, but the meaning of say. They say that. Now, Laocoonta is a weird form. That's because, again, Laocoon is a loan word from Greek into Latin. And when you have loan words, very often what you'll do is that in the various grammatical forms, they will retain it. Think about it in terms of, for example, a radius in English is, of course, plural, radii. We normally in English make things plural with an S, but it's radii because radius is a loan word for us in English from Latin, and so therefore it retains the odd forms. We have tons of those. And so, they say that the accusative Laocoon, the one earning it, the one deserving it, expendice. Here this verb is, especially in terms of what we have in this situation, is going to have the meaning of pay. Has paid the crime, or paid for the crime. Laocoon, who has harmed. This is a perfect subjunctive. Lido, lidere, lysi, lysus. Remember the perfect stem with the perfect active subjunctive endings. Erim, eris, erit. Who has harmed the sacred robor, the sacred oak, with his spear point. Cuspis, cuspidis means spear point, and that's why your tooth that is right behind the canines is known as your bicuspid, because it has two little points like a spear on it. And did hurl, torqueo, torquere, the wicked spear in the back. They shout that, and there is our clanclamat, and again we have an accusative subject, that the simulacrum, that the statue, ducendum, add an essay to make the infinitive, and it's a future passive periphrastic or gerundive of obligation, must be led to the seats. The seat is the center. It is the place where the power is held, or where the center of the location, as it were. That's why, like, for example, in the county system that you have in states, one city within that county, even though they might have several different cities within that county, is going to be designated as the county seat, because that's where the government is going to be centrally located. Nevertheless, must be led to the seats, and that the divine powers of the goddess must be begged, must be prayed, oranda, and add to that essay. We, dividimus, divide the walls, and we open up the walls of the city. All gird, all encircle, like roll up their sleeves, put on a belt, that sort of thing, because it means to literally encircle, but here we're going to have gird, as in, like, you know, ready yourself, for the work. And they throw, yakio yakare, slippages, and again that is one of the examples of where you take the fourth principal part, or in the instance of a deponent verb, the third principal part, labor labi lapsasum, and so to slip, to glide, to slither, and so it is a gliding, a slithering, a slippage, and so that's what I'm using as the definition. They throw slippages of wheels under its feet, and they stretch hemp chains on its neck. Ropes, essentially. The fatalis machina, the fatal machine, climbs the walls. Pregnant fata with weapons, and by metonymy with war. Boys, pueri, all around, and unwed girls sing sacred things, sacred songs, and they rejoice to touch the rope with their hand. Think about if you were in the Thanksgiving Day Macy's parade, and you would be so excited as a kid, even a teenager, as what indeed y'all presumably are in AP Latin, to hold one of the ropes of that giant balloon. And so they're excited, are these children, in the same way that they get to hold the ropes and bring the horse into the city. Illa, meaning obviously the horse itself, the simulacrum. That one goes under, or just approaches if you would like, goes, and menacing, it glides in, dative of direction to the middle city. Oh, fatherland, Oh, Troy. And then this is the appositive as to what Troy is. Oh, Troy, comma, the house of the gods. Again, syncopation, devorum turns to devum. And then, oh, walls of the Dardanians. Walls, renowned, ablative of specification. Renowned in what specific way? In war. He then goes on to bemoan 4 times on the threshold itself of the gate. It stopped. It haltered. And 4 times weapons gave, do dari dedidatus, alternate ending, a sound from the womb. We, however, press on, unmindful and blind with madness. They're so focused, they are so not paying attention to detail that they keep going and refuse even subconsciously to hear the weapons that are clattering when obviously they try to get it. And that whole business about on the threshold itself, there's rarely a worse omen than to stub your toe or stumble as you're going across a threshold. That is why there's the tradition of a husband picking up a bride to take her across the threshold, because certainly you wouldn't want her stumbling. That would be a bad omen. She wouldn't be able to have children, or something bad would happen, obviously, within that household. That's why that tradition exists. Nevertheless, we continue on. And not only do we press on, unmindful, blind with madness, blind with fury, and we set up, like a statue, that unlucky monster on the sacred citadel. Then even Cassandra. Remember that Cassandra, one of the 50 daughters of Priam, had been gifted the gift of prophecy by Apollo, but he had then, because of the disagreement with Cassandra on what would be that payment for getting the prophecy, then in some versions spat in her mouth, meaning that she is cursed. She will always tell the truth about prophecy of the future, but she's cursed never to be believed, which we're about to see that right now. Then even Cassandra opens up her mouths with the fates about to be. She's like, look, this is about what's going down. However, Cassandra, non umque credita, not ever having been believed by the Teucrians by order of the god, and that would be Apollo, the one who had cursed her as well. 2 more lines, and so we're done with this section, hopefully. There we are, more pleasing blue. We, nos, and I know that is we, nominative, not us, accusative, because of velamus. Now, velamus means to obviously unfurl, like a sail. It is obviously related to the word sail, V-E-L-U-M. But here I'm going to use a fancy word that is one I encourage my students to use, to festoon, which means like decorate. So we festoon, we miserable ones, the shrines of the gods with festive foliage, like a palm frond is its leaves, like a fern's frond is its leaf. Throughout the city, we the miserable ones, for whom that day was the last, or was our last, as it were. And so they don't even know it, but they're celebrating, not knowing that within the next 12 hours, their impending doom and destruction of their civilization, for all intents and purposes, is at hand. And again, the person telling the story at the banquet in flashback is that of Aeneas, and he is bemoaning the fact all along. So, that's it for those lines. Keep studying, and good luck